going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Healthy Living Scottsdale Podcast. I am your host, Coach Adam. I am accompanied today by Coach Damon, as well as Director Jolie. We are in the house this morning. I'm going to crank out a podcast here dealing with footwear. Been having a lot of questions and or observations by the coaches about different shoes, and maybe linking that to possible issues that they may be having somewhere up the chain in their body, and just how to really optimize your workouts here, and kind of the differences between a couple of different shoe approaches and things like that. So before we get into it, as always, we're going to do a member of the week. And this week we are going to be shouting out Mr. Steve Stengel. 9 a.m. consistent. Damon, what do you have on Steve?
Steve has been killing it in the hypertrophy phase. Every single week he's been trying to up his numbers and really taking a realization on seeing that the numbers matter and seeing that he's getting that progression overload on being able to get better in each exercise. And after the last week of hypertrophy, we saw that he improved on every single lift that he did throughout the entire phase.
That's awesome.
Textbook. Yeah, he's great, and he's really good. Always, when I was in the mornings, he's always really good tracking.
And he stays on top of his in-body scans. He's always like, help me, I want to go over this, I want to analyze the results. Like, he's always looking for those data points of like, okay, how can I improve? How can I get better? So that's exactly what you want when you want to see progress. So
very, very invested, and he's very much locked in. So shout out to Steve. We're going to go ahead and get into the footwear discussion here. So a lot of people are asking questions about it because some of the coaches here, we have these Vivo barefoot shoes. Some people come in, obviously Hoka's are a very popular brand right now, trending. And there's a lot of kind of pros and cons to what you should be wearing. It's essentially, what is your goal and what type of exercise are you going to be doing in the gym on a given day? So let's talk about what matters with what do we want to see in a strength training or a resistance training shoe. Not a shoe that we're going to do extended cardio in, nothing that we're going to necessarily take outdoors. What are we looking for a strength training shoe? Kind of pros, and then if there's any cons, what do you guys have?
So I think the first thing is we want something flat. We want you as close to the ground, the earth, as possible when you are working out. I think that's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
When we have too much cushion in our shoes, and we can go as deep in the weeds as we want with this, but the further you are away from the ground, like the more cushiony, the more pillowy your sneakers are, like those Hoka's.
Brooks.
Yeah, Brooks, like those real running sneakers that are built for like prolonged like impact into the ground. The more cushiony that your shoes are, the less stability that you're going to have in your ankles, and then just completely up the chain. And you guys can probably go into that a little bit more too, but I think that's the biggest one I would say is like that stability. The farther you are away, the less stability you're going to have. And we need that when we're weightlifting, when we're adding load to our lifts.
Absolutely, and it also comes down to how sturdy the shoe is. Like the Hoka's that they wear, they're flat-footed, but for me personally, I also wear Olympic weightlifting shoes that have an elevated heel that is also firm on the ground. It's kind of made out of carbon fiber, if I'm not mistaken, and it's a really sturdy shoe, and it helps you increase your range of motion when you don't have as much dorsiflexion for most people lack of. So that's also a really good shoe as well to be able to go heavy in the gym.
Yeah, so we got two different kinds there, kind of the barefoot approach, and then Damon touching on the Olympic weightlifting shoe, both in common being very flat, having flat bases, again, to promote the stability. Also force transfer from the ground. We talk a lot about like ground reactive force and how that can work to your advantage when you're moving something, a weight vertically, or even like a horizontal press on a bench press. Being able to produce force into the ground is going to help translate and transfer also into whatever load you're moving. So to have a flat shoe like an Olympic weightlifting shoe or a barefoot shoe that keeps you close to the ground, it enforces or promotes that force transfer. Along the same lines, posture It's going to be essentially as close to being barefoot, or if you were to not be wearing anything. So your joints, ankle joint, knee joint, hip joint, all the way up the chain, everything is collecting information and stabilizing the way it should naturally from the ground up. And then, of course, that helps with joint alignment and things like that. And that's where we see in a lot of injuries or just nagging things, some tendonitis and things like that in the joints that bother a lot of people. So like the back and the knee pain that we see a lot could be stemming from essentially the ground, people wearing these super puffed up cushiony shoes, and it's not giving their joint chain the opportunity to build the resilience, to build the stability that it needs to be in the correct ranges of motion without a bunch of support. Because, you know, essentially we should just walk around barefoot, right? If it was, you know, socially acceptable or whatever, it keeps you closest to the ground.
Yeah. And I think something that, like, even us as coaches, and Damon, maybe you could chime in on this too. I remember when just even I started here, and I think you too, we were wearing sneakers that had more cushion in them, on them. And it was just like, you'd constantly feel like, oh, like there's something up with my low back, or like knees feeling like a little out of alignment. Like when we elevate that heel, like we're getting that anterior pelvic tilt, like we're getting, our body just becomes out of alignment. And when we're doing that over time, right, more is going to be out of alignment. We're going to feel tight. We're going to feel sore, right? There's so much that goes into it. And I think a good way to kind of visualize this, and women will probably know this more than men, maybe men too, I don't know if you're wearing high heels, but like if you think of like a high heeled shoe, that's like a very like this is a very interesting way to put it, but like we're still elevating the heel, right? And so when we have that heel elevated, alignment is really out of whack. And similar idea when we have those super cushiony shoes, but like it's like, oh, they're comfortable, like they're cushiony, so we think they're good for us, but in all actuality, exactly as you're saying, like that alignment just needs to be there for that range of motion and everything.
To play like devil's advocate, a lot of people, like, objection one to that would be that, like, the C word that you use, they would say, I need cushion to be comfortable. Yeah. But, you know, like the rebuttal to that is that we're designed to move and support ourselves without all of that assistance. Your foot alone has like 33-ish, 30 joints in it. So if they're not able to make natural adjustments and things like that, they're never going to be, you know, in optimal health or, you know, working as well as you want them to. And like we've touched on pods in the past, you know, the joint by joint approach that Mike Boyle talks about, and it's a really great thing to always kind of keep in mind as you're, you know, with exercise selection and things like that. One joint is going to, whatever happens there will affect the next one up the line. So, you know, things that begin in the foot / ankle, pretty soon it's going to work to the knee, it's going to work up to the hip, and then eventually to that lumbar spine, which is a joint that people forget about. So then that cushion just, it hides weaknesses, right? So it's like, it's essentially, you're cheating to try to support your joints by just wearing extra cushion and convincing yourself that it's more comfortable, when really you're not giving your joints that ability to be able to strengthen and work correctly. So
you have something to add to that, Damon? Yeah.
No, I was just shaking my head, like agreeing with it. Yeah. That's basically it.
The barefoots, some people will say like, my foot's like too flat or something like that. Like I have flat feet, or I need arch support. What do you tell somebody that, you know, has maybe a foot issue or a shape thing like that, where they've always been told to do something in their everyday life a certain way, or to wear, you know, insoles or something like that? How do you go about recommending a type of shoe to them here in the gym?
Well, at least for me, when it comes to people that have flat feet and they need that arch, one thing I could recommend to them, at least if they have shoes that they don't want to get rid of, they're like, oh, I just bought these shoes, I'm not trying to get another pair. If anything, I can recommend them a good insole. One of them that I have is called Victory insoles. There's athlete-specific insole, but it's going to help anybody in the gym as well, because it has carbon fiber within the insole and it arches that foot for people, and it helps people produce more force through the ground. It's something that I use every day for whenever I am in the gym, and it's been a big help for me. I've seen massive jumps in my squat as well as my deadlift because it's helping me produce more force on the ground as well as giving me that arch support. It might not be the most comfortable insole in the world, but it's going to be getting the job done, right? Because it's not
without changing like the flat shoe mentality, because your shoe is still flat
right
on the exterior, right?
Exactly.
So it's just having that little bit of something that will give you a little bit of comfort, but still the primary driver, the primary focus is the flat base that you still have. The overuse of the cushioning, we'll just talk about a few things that are super common that we see in some people. Plantar fasciitis.
It's a big one, yeah.
Yeah, like, a lot of times it's like, oh, I'm just on my feet too much, or that's what we hear, and like that's the excuse or the reason. It's probably because you're wearing super cushioned shoes, so you don't have that strength built up. The reduction in toe splay, that's kind of that's a difference I've felt since switching from, I used to wear Metcons, Nike Metcons, which are a flat bottom cross training shoe, but I started to feel low back pain just coaching 7-8 hours a day just on your feet a lot, and I felt like I wasn't able to like really grip the ground correctly. So like that reduced toe splay, that's also where people run into like a lot of things like bunions or just the deformities in some of these shoes after like repetitive wearing, things that can happen there. Are there any downsides you guys could think of to having like this kind of flat bottom shoe, or any cons to it? Because I've I had a couple come in last week and both in Hoka's, and I'm like, guys, we're about to go into a strength phase where we're going to need as much strength, as much force pretty much as possible for 70% of your workout each day. We need to get a new shoe. I'm not telling you to buy a new shoe, but I'm telling you to buy a new shoe. Then they went and got like a cross-training Reebok. I forget which one it is, but it's good. It's flat base, and the first comment was they feel weird, or like they feel clunky, kind of is what they would say. I would think the only downside to getting used to that kind of barefoot or flat bottom shoe is just trying to adapt too quickly, or trying to jump. If I buy it on Monday, I'm not going to put it on and work out in it on Tuesday morning. Like I'm going to wear them around just a little bit, like in the house, start to build in on the inside of the shoe. That's probably the only negative I could think of, is like jumping into them too quickly maybe.
Well, it's going to feel different, and it's going to feel a little weird when you're first wearing like barefoot shoes, flat shoes, switching up something that like literally connects you to the ground, like it's going to feel weird. I think it's just giving it a little bit of time and knowing that like everything we do here in the gym is like, it's very controlled. Like your programming is set in a way that's like going to be safe for you, and it's not like, oh my gosh, we're going to have you doing 1,000 jump squats and like increasing your impact and stuff. And so knowing like, okay, this feels a little weird, but like I'm going to try it because I know that it's going to help me progress, get stronger, keep my alignment, like just, I don't know, trust the process, I guess, is a piece of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's at the end of the day, when it comes to those types of shoes or insoles that we've brought up earlier in the podcast, in my opinion, you got to give it at least a week's worth of wearing in before you officially go into it fully. Just because if you try to go straight into it, I made that mistake with the Victory insoles at least. Yeah. And man, my feet were sore for 4 days, and I go, man, that was not smart. And that's like kind of the only negative side but that's just because I didn't know in the beginning. But now that you know that information to where you're like, oh, I got to break it in a little bit, just walk around your house with it, just wear it all day. And if shoes off in the house, just go take a walk outside.
And that's a good point too. Like your feet might be a little sore because they're working harder. You're working the proper muscles in your feet.
There's muscles there too.
There's muscles there too, guys. Like it's important. We've got a lot of nerve endings in our feet. We've got a lot of muscles in our feet. And so you're forcing yourself to work a little bit harder. Your core is going to connect a lot easier. Like you're working on so many things by getting a flatter shoe in the gym.
Yep. It's the catalyst to a domino effect all the way up the chain we've been touching on a little bit. Let's just drop maybe a couple recommendations here. I know you've got one as far as a more of like an Olympic shoe, but it is a flat bottom shoe if people are interested. And then I've got a couple.
Okay. This is the most basic one that I know of that is sort of affordable. It's around $120 ish before taxes, but it's the Nike Salveos, and it's just a little bit elevated. It's not extreme. It's probably like an inch or two. Like if you had to imagine it, it would be putting like a 2.5 pound plate on each foot and elevating your heels. That's how much it is. Very, very small, and it's got great recommendations from people to use it, and I've only heard positive reviews for it. So that's a good basic one if you're going heavy in the gym, and even if you're doing power movements as well.
Cool. Yeah, and I got a couple here. So, well, Jolie and I are wearing them right now. We've got the Vivo Barefoots. They are on the a little bit on the expensive side, but they are kind of a knit, kind of fly knit material. Built to last, super long. But they are a barefoot shoe. They definitely take some getting used to, but you do feel very connected to the ground in them. It's, feels like you're almost wearing nothing, very light. Another couple we could drop here would be the Nike Metcons are a good shoe. I just was standing too long. So I switched it up. Like, people that come in here and throw on their Nikes or whatever for the hour, maybe 90 minutes that they're in here, like that's a perfect window. You're not going to have pain like I had standing like 8 hours a day. And Metcons are great. They are still have enough variability or flexibility in them to be able to do dynamic things like you were talking about, like some squat jumps and things like that we do in our finishers. Are you going to go run a mile in them? No. Like you should not, because they're not going to absorb the impact like a cushion shoe would. So I think we've got the Nike Salveos, Vivo Barefoots, Nike Metcons are great, and then Outwork Edges is another similar kind of cross training shoe that's knit. Somewhat fly knit with a little bit more structure on the top portion, but still has that flat base and the variability to perform a lot of different exercises. So that, and then just I don't want to see them. Just get the Hokas and the Brooks out. Just get them out. Like there's a trash can here on the way. No, I'm just kidding. Don't wear them into the gym to strength train. They are good running shoes. They are good for exercise that's not where it's not important to feel super connected to the ground and be able to produce a lot of force and things like that. Not going to get into a bunch of recommended running shoes here because I don't think I can speak on that because I don't run. So I don't think any of us here do either. But let's keep the Hokas and Brooks out of the gym if possible and set ourselves up for success. Got anything else?
I think we hit everything.
Beautiful. All right. We'll see you guys next time for more great stuff.
Thank you so much for listening to the Healthy Living Scottsdale Podcast. Do you have a question that you'd like for us to answer live on the podcast? If so, all you need to do is head over to the Apple Podcast app on your iPhone and do 3 simple things. First, leave us a rating and review telling me what you think of the podcast. In that review, ask anything you want related to health, fitness, or nutrition. And if you want a shout out, leave us your Instagram handle or name. That's all you have to do. Then listen to hear your questions answered live on the next Q&A episode.